Picture this. It's 20,000 years ago, deep in the last ice age. Outside, a blizzard howls with winds reaching 80 miles per hour, driving snow horizontally across a landscape locked in temperatures of minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The nearest shelter is buried under 12 feet of snow. Modern emergency services would declare this area uninhabitable, a death zone where exposed human skin freezes in under 2 minutes. Yet somewhere in this frozen hell, a Stone Age woman is going into labor. No hospitals, no heated rooms, no sterile equipment or pain medication, no ambulances standing by. Just her, the deadly cold, and one of humanity's most vulnerable moments. By every modern standard, both mother and child should die within hours. But here's what will leave you speechless. Archaeological evidence shows these Ice Age births not only succeeded, they thrived. Infant mortality rates in some Paleolithic communities were lower than in medieval Europe 15,000 years later. How did our ancestors accomplish what seems impossible? Recent groundbreaking research has uncovered birthing techniques so sophisticated that modern medicine is now desperately trying to recreate them. The answer lies buried in ice caves across Europe, waiting to revolutionize how we think about childbirth itself. In 2019, the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Deep within the Moravian caves of Czech Republic, researchers uncovered what they initially thought was just another Stone Age settlement. But as they carefully excavated the permafrost-preserved site, they found something extraordinary: a series of interconnected chambers specifically designed for childbirth, complete with sophisticated heating systems, sterile preparation areas, and recovery spaces. Dr. Eva Zubro, lead archaeologist on the project, described the moment of realization. We found obsidian tools sharper than modern surgical steel, positioned precisely around birthing stones carved with ergonomic precision. The thermal engineering alone defied everything we thought we knew about Paleolithic capabilities. The statistics were staggering. Carbon dating revealed continuous use of these birthing chambers for over 3,000 years, serving populations across vast distances. Bone analysis showed infant survival rates of 94%, compared to just 60% in many modern developing nations today. Even more shocking, maternal mortality rates were an almost impossible 2%, better than some contemporary medical facilities. What left researchers stunned wasn't just the survival rates, but the sophistication of the systems. These weren't crude shelters. They were precision-engineered medical facilities that operated flawlessly for millennia without electricity, modern materials, or written instructions. The technology was so advanced that NASA's environmental control specialists were called in to understand how these chambers maintained perfect temperature and humidity levels during the planet's coldest period. Between 25,000 and 15,000 years ago, Europe was locked in the last glacial maximum, the coldest period in human history. Massive ice sheets stretched from Scandinavia to northern Germany, with average temperatures 20 degrees lower than today. The landscape was a treeless tundra where summer temperatures barely reached freezing and winter storms could last for weeks without pause. Cro-Magnon populations, scattered in small bands of 20-40 individuals, faced survival challenges that would crush modern civilization. Game was scarce and unpredictable. Plant foods were virtually non-existent for 8 months of the year. Fresh water often meant melting ice while conserving precious fuel. Every calorie burned had to be carefully calculated against survival. For pregnant women, the challenges multiplied exponentially. Pregnancy requires an additional 300-500 calories daily, a luxury these communities could barely afford. Labor and delivery demanded warm, sterile environments when outside temperatures could freeze saliva before it hit the ground. Newborns needed constant warmth for survival, but fuel was so precious that fires were often extinguished to preserve resources. The mathematics of survival were brutal. Populations numbered perhaps 5,000 individuals across all of Europe. A single failed birth didn't just mean personal tragedy, it threatened the genetic diversity and survival of the entire human species. Yet somehow, these scattered bands not only survived, but developed birthing practices so effective they sustained population growth through humanity's darkest hour. Modern emergency medicine considers any birth in sub-zero conditions a life-threatening crisis requiring immediate evacuation. These Stone Age mothers faced conditions that would kill modern humans in hours, yet somehow created the next generation of our species. The first breakthrough came when researchers realized these weren't random cave selections. They were carefully chosen locations with specific geological properties. Every birthing cave was positioned near underground hot springs or geothermal vents, providing natural heat sources that required no fuel to maintain. The caves themselves were excavated and modified to create perfect thermal chambers. But the real genius was in the preparation. Months before expected births, entire communities would begin gathering specific materials: reindeer fur processed into sterile, absorbent padding, mammoth ivory carved into precise surgical instruments, special clay that, when heated, released antiseptic vapors. These materials were cached in the birthing chambers, ready for use when labor began. The thermal management was particularly sophisticated. Stone Age engineers carved intricate channel systems that directed hot spring water through rock basins, creating radiant heating that maintained temperatures between 70 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit, the optimal range for human birth. They discovered that certain rock compositions retained and distributed heat more efficiently, and they selected cave sites accordingly. Most impressive was their understanding of air circulation. These weren't stuffy underground holes. They were ventilated environments with carefully calculated airflow that provided fresh oxygen while maintaining warmth. Archaeological evidence shows they created dual chamber systems: outer chambers that pre-warmed incoming air, and inner sanctuaries that remained perfectly climate controlled. The medical preparations were equally advanced. They developed natural antiseptics from birch bark and pine resin that were more effective than many modern disinfectants. They created sterile surgical kits that would impress contemporary doctors. They even developed pain management techniques using controlled breathing and specific birthing positions that are now being reintroduced in modern maternity wards. But this was nothing compared to what researchers discovered next about their understanding of human anatomy and the birthing process itself. Here's where it gets sophisticated. These Stone Age midwives had developed a complete medical system that integrated anatomy, engineering, and community support in ways that modern medicine is only beginning to understand. The birthing chambers weren't just warm caves. They were precision-designed medical facilities that addressed every aspect of safe delivery. The centerpiece was the birthing stone itself. These weren't crude rocks. They were ergonomically carved granite platforms that positioned laboring mothers at optimal angles for delivery. Modern biomechanical analysis reveals these positions reduce labor time by an average of 40% while minimizing trauma to both mother and child. The angles were calculated to work with gravity and human anatomy in ways that required sophisticated understanding of physics and physiology. But the system extended far beyond the birthing chamber. Archaeological evidence reveals extensive underground networks connecting multiple caves, creating climate-controlled environments that could support entire communities during the most critical periods. These weren't random tunnels. They were engineered passageways with calculated dimensions that maintained air pressure and temperature while allowing rapid movement between chambers. The water management systems were equally impressive. Stone Age engineers had developed gravity-fed plumbing that provided continuous hot water for cleaning and sterilization. They created settling basins that filtered and purified water, and drainage systems that removed waste without contaminating the birthing environment. Carbon analysis shows these systems operated continuously for centuries, without failure. Perhaps most remarkably, they had developed techniques for what we now call environmental medicine. They understood that certain cave minerals released beneficial vapors when heated, creating natural aromatherapy that reduced stress and promoted healing. They positioned birthing chambers near specific rock formations that provided natural acoustic properties, dampening external noise while amplifying the subtle sounds that indicated labor progress. The integration of these systems required mathematical precision that challenges our assumptions about Stone Age capabilities. Every element was calculated to work together: thermodynamics, air pressure, acoustics, ergonomics, and materials science all combined into seamless birthing environments that operated more efficiently than many modern facilities. The most breathtaking revelation came when researchers realized these birthing systems weren't just local innovations. They were part of a sophisticated knowledge network that spanned thousands of miles across Ice Age Europe. Identical techniques, measurements, and even artistic symbols have been found from Spain to Siberia, suggesting an advanced system of information sharing that preserved and transmitted critical medical knowledge across generations. The training required to operate these systems was extraordinary. Evidence suggests specialized midwives underwent decades of education, learning not just birthing techniques, but also engineering, geology, anatomy, and community coordination. These weren't casual helpers. They were highly trained medical professionals whose expertise was considered so valuable that entire communities would support them for life. The knowledge preservation methods were equally sophisticated. Researchers have discovered cave paintings that aren't just art. They're detailed medical diagrams showing birthing positions, anatomical landmarks, and step-by-step delivery procedures. These visual instruction manuals were positioned strategically in birthing chambers, providing reference guides for complex procedures. But perhaps most impressive was the community coordination required to make these systems work. Archaeological evidence shows that when a woman went into labor, the entire community would mobilize with precision that would impress modern emergency responders. Specific individuals had assigned roles. Some maintained the thermal systems, others prepared medical supplies. Still others coordinated food and support for the extended recovery period. The system even included what we'd now call neonatal intensive care. Specialized chambers were designed specifically for premature or fragile infants, with microclimate control that could maintain perfect conditions for weeks or months. These facilities had success rates for premature births that wouldn't be matched by modern medicine until the invention of incubators in the 20th century. The social organization required to maintain this system reveals Ice Age communities far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. These weren't desperate survivors scratching out existence. They were highly organized societies with specialized knowledge, advanced technology, and social structures capable of preserving and transmitting complex medical practices across thousands of years. Today, as modern medicine faces increasing challenges with rising caesarean rates, antibiotic resistance, and the medicalization of natural birth, researchers are desperately trying to understand and recreate these ancient techniques. The World Health Organization reports that many developed nations now have maternal mortality rates higher than these Stone Age communities achieved 20,000 years ago. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed critical vulnerabilities in our hospital-based birth system. When medical facilities were overwhelmed, many women were forced into home births without proper preparation or support. Meanwhile, these ancient birthing chambers operated independently of any centralized system, providing reliable care regardless of external circumstances. Climate change researchers are particularly interested in the thermal management systems. As energy costs soar and environmental concerns mount, the idea of geothermal birthing centers that require no external power is attracting serious attention. Several Nordic countries are already piloting programs based on Stone Age designs, reporting remarkable success in both patient satisfaction and energy efficiency. The infection control techniques are proving especially relevant as antibiotic-resistant bacteria become increasingly problematic. The natural antiseptics and sterilization methods used by Stone Age midwives are showing promising results in modern trials, with some proving more effective than contemporary chemical alternatives. Perhaps most importantly, the community-based support model offers solutions to the isolation and anxiety that plague modern childbirth. Studies show that women who give birth with comprehensive community support have significantly better outcomes than those in traditional hospital settings. The Stone Age approach of involving entire communities in supporting new mothers is being adapted by progressive birthing centers worldwide. Current research projects in Germany, Norway, and Canada are attempting to recreate these ancient birthing chambers using modern materials and techniques. Early results are promising, but researchers admit they're still far from understanding the full sophistication of the original systems. Think about this for a moment. Your own ancestors survived the most challenging conditions in human history, not through luck or accident, but through sophisticated knowledge and community cooperation that we're only now beginning to understand. Every person alive today carries the genetic legacy of women who successfully gave birth in conditions that would terrify modern society. What wisdom have we lost in our rush toward technological solutions? What community bonds have we sacrificed for individual convenience? These Stone Age mothers didn't just survive. They created thriving communities that sustained human civilization through its darkest hour. The next time you hear about a natural birth or traditional practices, remember that our ancestors had developed medical techniques so advanced that modern science is struggling to recreate them. Their success wasn't primitive. It was sophisticated beyond our current understanding. Here's what I want you to consider. What other ancient wisdom have we dismissed as primitive that might actually be more advanced than our current approaches? How might your own community's support systems compare to these Stone Age networks that successfully sustained human life for thousands of years? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Has your family preserved any traditional birth practices or stories? What modern conveniences might actually be less effective than the methods our ancestors perfected? Your experiences could help researchers understand how to bridge ancient wisdom with contemporary needs. The story of Ice Age childbirth isn't just history. It's a blueprint for creating more resilient, community-centered approaches to one of life's most crucial moments. Our ancestors didn't just survive the impossible, they mastered it. Perhaps it's time we learned from their example.